Does she think Americans are better off now than 4 years ago?
Well, I think when people are running for president, they want to see, what are you going to do for me? And it's not a retrospective question. It's actually a forward-looking question.
So at this point, we've basically just accepted that Kamala Harris is not going to take any more real interviews. But even when she sends out her trained PR spokespeople to do the interviews for her, it doesn't go much better. Take a listen here as this CNN host asks a Kamala spokesperson a question on the economy that's not particularly hard or complicated. It's not exactly a gotcha question, and yet still the guy doesn't really know what to say, probably because he's representing Kamala Harris, who herself doesn't know what she's talking about. Take a listen.
The bottom line here, when you look at a metric like grocery prices, they're up still 20% compared to 4 years ago. And Harris was asked recently on the debate stage whether she thinks Americans are better off now than 4 years ago, and she didn't directly answer that question. So I'll ask you, does she think Americans are better off now or not?
A few moments later.
And so
I'm just going to follow up on the question again.
When it comes to high prices for people, the choice in the election is also very clear, and she's going to keep talking about her plans to bring down those grocery costs while Donald Trump is going to explode them.
But let me just follow up then on that, because you said her plan to bring down grocery costs. As you know, Republicans would argue, well, they've gone up on, under the Biden-Harris administration. I'll ask the question again. Does she think Americans are better off now than 4 years ago?
Well, I think when people are running for president, they want to see, what are you going to do for me? And it's not a retrospective question. It's actually a forward-looking question. And that's what she's doing on the campaign trail every day, is saying, I understand that we have to go further for people. There are still too many people out there who are hurting. Yes, inflation has eased a little bit and prices are starting to come down, but man, we've got to go even further. And when you look at the choice on the ballot in November, it's either me or it's Donald Trump.
Folks, if you're enjoying the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. But it's not a retrospective question. Hold on a second. We seem to forget this, but she's literally the vice president. It's a completely fair question to ask, okay? Now, it would be one thing if this was like Gavin Newsom as the candidate, because at least he could say, yes, Joe Biden is a Democrat, but I'm not Joe Biden. I have nothing to do with that administration. It would be kind of disingenuous considering California probably is hardest hit by the high prices, but whatever. I understand that. It's kind of hard to make that argument, though, when you're literally the sitting vice president. Kamala Harris still does not really present herself a clear economic plan. Just a couple months ago, she was saying that she is proud of Bidenomics. Let's not forget that.
All that is called Bidenomics. It's a term we're very proud of, I must tell you, because Bidenomics is working. It's working.
All of that is called Bidenomics, and I quote, Bidenomics is working. Yet it's not fair to ask a retrospective question about your leadership when you're the one who is right there on camera owning Bidenomics. Okay, it doesn't really make any sense, and maybe that's the exact reason why Americans, according to CNN themselves, overwhelmingly trust Trump more than Kamala on the economy.
And on issue number one, you mentioned Donald Trump going down to Georgia today. Take a look at Trump's advantage on the economy. 50% of likely voters say they trust him to handle the economy more than Harris. Only 39% of likely voters say so of Harris, again, on issue number one.
I mean, it is really stunning if you think about these numbers. 20% more of voters say that they are worried about the economy, and that's their number one issue more than anybody else. And look at his lead on this.
Yeah, again, I really wonder why he has such a big lead on the economy question.
All that is called Bidenomics.
But of course, we know this is far from the first time or the only issue where Kamala Harris's campaign tries to basically argue that she never had a past, she never said anything before in her life, she certainly was not the sitting vice president who literally is in power right now, because take a listen to this Kamala spokesperson response on a very simple immigration question.
But I do want to ask you about this CNN report. It shows Harris voiced support for cutting funding for ICE and for using taxpayer money to fund transgender surgery for detained migrants in 2019. Does the vice president still support those positions, and do you expect her to address them tonight?
Listen, I think, these old questionnaires are a complete distraction from the task at hand right now.
It's a distraction to ask Kamala Harris, hey, you said this about immigration. Immigration is like the #2 issue defining the election, but it's a complete distraction. That's their answer, to say immigration is the #2 issue behind the economy defining this entire election. Kamala Harris claims she's going to be so tough on it, and it's just a Trump talking point to say Democrats are weak on immigration. Yet when you are asked about, hey, you supported this on immigration in the past, it's a distraction. It was just an ACLU questionnaire where she said that she wanted to do taxpayer funding for transgender surgery for illegals. Okay, sure, maybe it was just an ACLU questionnaire, but it's still a questionnaire. You still could have answered no to the question, but she said in affirmative she wants to do that. And now when you bring it up, when you bring up again anything that Kamala Harris said like 5 years ago, we're not talking about she said something 30 years ago when she was in college. No, in 2019, apparently that's a distraction. Take a listen to another example. And this response you're about to see is really bad because she straight up has no answer at all.
In the 2020 primary, the vice president praised the defund the police movement, and now she says she doesn't support defunding the police. She called for decriminalizing crossing the border illegally. Now she supports President Biden's policies for clamping down at the border. She supported Medicare for all at one point, eliminating private insurance, and her campaign says she doesn't support that now. She's reversed herself on a fracking ban. What do you think that voters should think when she's reversed herself on several issues just in the last 4 years?
I think that voters should think that she's a human being who learns new things every single day and has the ability to take the time and effort to hear the concerns of all people. I think that they should be certain that she is a fighter and a leader who's going to do the work on their behalf to ensure that there is an economy that ensures that no one is left behind, that there is a climate, that we're going to continue to address the climate crisis in a way that ensures that there is an earth here for young people and for next generations of leaders. I think that they should absolutely believe that she is a leader who cares about people and who's going to put them first, as she has done her entire career.
So no concern about flip-flopping?
No concern about flip-flopping. This is our country changes every single day. The conditions of our country changes every single day.
You know what's very funny is the person you're hearing right now on your screen is now the senator for California. Okay, so that's obviously Kamala Harris's old position. And you can see she clearly has been trained well, right? Because much like her predecessor, what does she give in response? A complete word salad. They ask, okay, are you concerned about the flip-flopping? What do you think about this? She's going to be a great leader. She's competent. She's strong. Oh my gosh. Where have we heard that kind of answer before? But of course, it shouldn't surprise you, because if you are running an entire campaign based on nothingness, if you're going to go on TV to defend that campaign, what do you really have to say? That's why precisely these Kamala PR people, not the senator, but some of these spokespeople here, they're literally trained to do this. But the reason they literally cannot answer the questions is because there is no answer. They have no answer because the campaign itself has no stance on any of the policies. Okay, no justification as to why suddenly they did this 180, and instead of addressing it or explaining why Kamala Harris had any type of sophisticated moral transformation moment where she realized that progressivism was so bad, which she admitted to herself was not the case. She said in her own words, my values have not changed. That's exactly what happens, right? And it's going to keep happening because time and time again, there is no answer, right? The Kamala campaign does not have an answer to these questions. Even when CNN is kind of trying to protect her, you know, sure, it's kind of a grilling question somewhat, but I don't listen to what these CNN anchors were saying and think to myself, wow, really hard-hitting question. Wow, was really trying to bait them there. They're pretty basic stuff, but they don't have an answer because, simply put, there is no answer. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Why do you think these surrogates of the Kamala campaign have no answer to very basic questions? Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.